Today, I want to talk about something that often goes against what we naturally feel, the idea that the less you care, the more he chases. At first, this may sound like playing games or withholding affection, but in truth, it's about self-respect, boundaries, and emotional balance. Too often, people think that pouring their whole heart out, constantly reaching out, and putting the other person first will bring them closer. But ironically, that level of overinvestment can actually push someone away. Why? Because neediness repels, while confidence attracts. When you care less, you're not emotionally desperate. You focus on your life, your passions, and your self-worth. This isn't about manipulation, it's about shifting your energy back to yourself. That's when you become magnetic. One of the most misunderstood truths in relationships is this: people treat you in alignment with how you treat yourself. If you constantly chase someone, overgive, or overextend yourself emotionally, you may think you're proving your love, but in reality, you're unintentionally signaling a lack of self-worth. And people pick up on that. And let's be clear, this isn't about being arrogant or playing games. It's about understanding that when you project a strong sense of self, when you move through life knowing your own worth, others can't help but take notice. It creates a silent standard, one that tells people, this is how I expect to be treated. Think about the people you admire, whether in relationships or everyday life. They typically radiate self-assuredness. They don't over-explain themselves, they don't cling, and they don't operate out of desperation. They carry themselves with dignity and quiet confidence. And that confidence naturally draws others in. On the flip side, when someone senses that you're willing to bend over backwards for them, before any real foundation of trust, mutual effort, or respect has been built, it changes the dynamic. It shifts the power. Suddenly, you're no longer a partner to be pursued and appreciated. You're someone to be managed, tolerated, or even taken for granted. Value attracts value because it sets a bar. When you demonstrate that you value your time, your emotional energy, your standards, and your personal growth, it signals that you will not accept the bare minimum. It tells people that if they want to be part of your life, they need to bring something substantial to the table, not just empty promises, charm, or inconsistent attention. This idea applies to how you treat yourself in small, everyday ways. Are you speaking to yourself with kindness? Are you setting healthy boundaries? Are you making time for your passions and your goals, regardless of who may or may not be texting you back? Are you pursuing your own growth, even when someone else is playing hot and cold? All of these things add up to a self-image that is magnetic, unshakable, and quietly powerful. And when you operate from that place, something incredible happens. People sense it. They may not be able to articulate it, but they feel it. And it triggers a desire to meet you where you are. Suddenly, you're no longer the one trying to prove your worth. You're simply living it. And that makes all the difference. In this space, love is no longer about earning someone's attention. It becomes about mutual recognition. You stop asking, why isn't he texting back? Or how can I get him to notice me? Instead, your mindset shifts to, is this person in alignment with the life I'm building? Do they match the energy I bring to the table? And that's when the power dynamic changes. You're not chasing, you're choosing. When you know your worth deeply, not just intellectually, but emotionally, viscerally, you become less reactive, less anxious, and far more discerning. You stop settling for half-hearted gestures and start expecting full-hearted presence. You stop being impressed by breadcrumbs and start requiring the whole loaf. Not because you're entitled, but because you've put in the inner work to know that you deserve it. The best part? When you truly carry yourself like someone who brings value, you naturally attract people who do the same. Not because you manipulated the dynamic, not because you pretended to be unbothered, but because you genuinely realized that the most attractive thing you can be is someone who values themselves unapologetically, consistently, and wholeheartedly. Emotional detachment when practiced healthily, is one of the most powerful dynamics you can embrace in a relationship. It's not about becoming cold or indifferent. Rather, it's about creating space and keeping some level of emotional reserve, which, paradoxically, can make you infinitely more intriguing to others. In the fast-paced world of relationships, where instant gratification is often the norm, emotional detachment provides the rarest of qualities: mystery. Mystery is magnetic. It's one of the fundamental psychological principles in attraction. When people feel they know everything about you, when there's no unpredictability or complexity, the intrigue fades. The connection can quickly become mundane or taken for granted. However, when there's an element of emotional detachment, a sense that you're not entirely available, that there's more to you than meets the eye, it sparks curiosity. Suddenly, you're not just another person in their life. You become someone they feel they need to learn more about. They want to figure you out. And that curiosity fuels a desire to chase. Think about it. Have you ever been captivated by someone who didn't reveal everything about themselves up front? Maybe they didn't respond to every text immediately, or they weren't always available for plans. At first, it might have been frustrating, but soon that sense of uncertainty became exhilarating. Your mind started to work overtime, wondering what they were up to, what their intentions were, and how they felt. Without even trying, they had captured your attention. This is the power of emotional detachment. The key here is balance. Emotional detachment doesn't mean being aloof or distant all the time. It's about maintaining an inner strength, having the confidence to not always be available emotionally. You don't drop everything to please or to accommodate others. Your life isn't just about being in constant pursuit of validation or attention. Instead, you prioritize your own world, your own goals, and your own sense of well-being. When you do this, it inadvertently pulls others toward you. The chase becomes theirs, not yours. Why is this so effective? When you allow yourself to be emotionally detached, you shift the balance in the relationship. You stop making the other person the center of your world and start placing the focus back on yourself. You become less predictable, more independent, and more mysterious. You stop offering up every piece of yourself for easy access, and in doing so, you create space for them to wonder. Space encourages curiosity and a deeper desire to understand you, both emotionally and intellectually. The more you reveal about yourself, the more a person may start to take you for granted. It's only when you're somewhat elusive, when you're not always available, that a person starts to chase you with more fervor. Think of it like a treasure hunt. The more obstacles there are, the more rewarding the discovery. When everything is laid out on the table, there's no real incentive to pursue further, but when you maintain some level of emotional distance, that chase becomes a journey, and people love a challenge. This kind of emotional detachment doesn't imply gamesmanship or manipulation. It's a natural byproduct of valuing yourself and having your own emotional life outside of someone else's attention. It's knowing that your self-worth isn't tied to someone's validation. When you stop chasing validation and start living your life for yourself, when your emotional needs are no longer tied to someone else's actions, the dynamic between you and others shifts. Moreover, emotional detachment helps maintain your mental health. It allows you to have a clear sense of who you are and what you want without being constantly influenced by someone else's moods or actions. You are no longer overly invested in their approval or rejection. The constant emotional roller coaster of seeking reassurance, approval, or attention becomes irrelevant because you are centered in yourself. This emotional clarity allows you to evaluate whether someone is truly adding value to your life or merely occupying space. While emotional detachment creates mystery, it also offers a kind of freedom. You give yourself permission to live authentically, not constantly measuring your worth against someone else's expectations. You also prevent yourself from becoming too entangled in someone's emotional ups and downs. This detachment allows you to focus on your own emotional growth, your goals, and your desires without constantly seeking the approval of others. This is precisely what makes you magnetic, the ability to exist independently and authentically. Ultimately, emotional detachment is a powerful tool that helps you maintain your personal integrity and emotional balance. It may seem counterintuitive, After all, aren't relationships about sharing everything? But the truth is that when you give too much too quickly, it can stifle the relationship's natural growth. By maintaining some emotional distance, you allow space for the other person to grow, to pursue you, and to invest in the relationship in a meaningful way. It's this emotional detachment that creates the allure and mystery that others are drawn to. When people can't immediately read you or figure you out, they want to know more. And when they invest their time and energy into trying to understand you, they form a deeper connection and attachment. This keeps the dynamic fresh, exciting, and filled with the thrill of discovery. At the core of human nature lies one simple truth. People are often drawn to what they can't have, what is elusive, what is slightly out of reach. This principle is grounded in psychological theory and can be observed throughout history, from romantic relationships to marketing, consumer behavior, and even professional competition. When something is too easy to obtain, its value diminishes. The harder something is to get, the more desirable it becomes. This dynamic is incredibly powerful in the context of relationships. People inherently find themselves more attracted to someone who is not immediately available, who doesn't offer themselves up at every turn. The simple act of being emotionally unavailable, not in a cold, dismissive way, but in a way that says, I have my own life, my own interests, and my own sense of self-worth, creates an aura of intrigue. It signals to others that you are not desperate for their attention. And that alone is magnetic. Now, this doesn't mean that you should play games or intentionally push someone away. It's not about being deliberately elusive or manipulative. Instead, it's about fostering a healthy sense of independence and self-respect. When you stop overcommitting, stop overinvesting your emotional energy, and stop prioritizing someone else above your own well-being, you convey a subtle message. I'm not easy to get. I'm worth pursuing, and you'll have to work for my attention. This approach triggers a psychological response called the scarcity principle. The idea is simple. When something is scarce or hard to come by, it is perceived as more valuable. In relationships, when you don't make yourself readily available, you create a sense of scarcity. You're not constantly present, not always available for a text or call, and not constantly chasing after the other person. This scarcity, your absence or emotional distance, becomes a powerful tool in attracting others. The less they see you, the more they want to see you. The less they hear from you, the more they wonder what you're up to. This principle works because it plays into an individual's subconscious desire for exclusivity. We all want what feels like ours, and when something or someone is easily available, it feels less special. However, when someone seems hard to get, when they are not always available or consistently giving their attention, it creates a sense of longing. A sense that you are valuable and worthy of pursuit. The other person begins to feel that they need to earn your affection, and that pursuit makes the relationship more exciting, more dynamic, and more fulfilling. Think about the classic examples in romantic stories, the chase. In almost every great love story, there's an element of distance or difficulty in getting to the one you desire. The chase is not just a physical pursuit, but an emotional one, and it's something that naturally exists in the process of developing feelings for someone. When you are emotionally distant or not constantly available, the other person feels they need to prove themselves, to put in the effort, and to show that they are deserving of your time and attention. This shift in the dynamic, from you doing all the chasing to them doing the chasing, makes the entire relationship feel more balanced, more meaningful, and more rewarding. Furthermore, when someone has to chase you, they are forced to evaluate their own feelings more carefully. Are they truly interested in you, or are they simply reacting to the challenge you present? In the absence of constant reassurance and attention, the other person is given the space to reflect on their own emotions. This creates a more genuine connection because they are not acting out of impulse or superficial attraction, but out of a deeper desire to earn your affection. In professional settings, we see the same principle at play. The more difficult a job or opportunity is to obtain, the more people fight for it. Companies often create exclusivity by making positions hard to attain or creating demand through limited availability. This sense of scarcity drives competition and interest. Similarly, in romantic relationships, when you maintain your emotional distance and remain somewhat elusive, you're not making yourself a mere option to be checked off. Instead, you're creating a scenario where the other person must work for your attention, for your approval, and for your time. They must prove their worth in a way that makes their pursuit feel meaningful. However, the key is to understand that this dynamic doesn't involve playing games. It's not about being intentionally cold or manipulative to get someone to chase you. It's about creating a healthy balance between showing interest and maintaining enough distance to keep the other person engaged. It's about living your own life, pursuing your own interests, and being emotionally independent so that the other person has to demonstrate their value, not just through grand gestures, but through consistent effort, thoughtfulness, and emotional investment. This concept also touches on the idea of authenticity. When you stop trying to be easy to get or always available, you start to show the real, unguarded version of yourself. You stop putting on a facade to please someone and instead let them see the real you, someone who is secure in themselves and who doesn't need external validation to feel good about their worth. When people see that authenticity, they are naturally drawn to you because it signals that you are not trying to impress or win them over. Instead, you're letting the relationship develop in a way that feels genuine and respectful of both parties' emotional needs. By not being immediately available, emotionally or otherwise, you create a dynamic where the person must ask themselves, do I really want this person? Am I willing to put in the effort to have a real connection with them? This shift encourages more meaningful interactions and a deeper bond based on effort and mutual respect, rather than the superficial allure of constant accessibility. The longer the pursuit, the deeper the attraction tends to grow. At the same time, this process of becoming hard to get doesn't necessarily mean making someone work endlessly without ever giving them anything in return. There is a natural ebb and flow to this dynamic. There will be moments when you allow the other person in, when you show them affection, when you reveal more of yourself. But the key is balance, ensuring that there is always an element of mystery, always a small barrier between you and the other person, just enough to make the pursuit feel exciting and worthwhile. The longer someone has to chase, the more they invest emotionally, and the more likely they are to form a deeper attachment. The mystery, the chase, the emotional distance, all work together to create a dynamic that is compelling, exhilarating, and ultimately rewarding for both people involved. Confidence is often cited as one of the most attractive qualities a person can possess. And for good reason. It goes far beyond the superficial and extends into the very essence of how you present yourself, how you navigate the world, and how you engage with others. Confidence is magnetic because it emanates from a deep sense of self-worth, self-assurance, and self-respect. It's not just about how you look or how you present yourself in social situations. It's about how comfortable you are in your own skin and how that comfort translates into your interactions with others. People are naturally drawn to individuals who radiate confidence because it signals a sense of inner strength and security. When someone is confident, they don't feel the need to constantly seek validation from others. They are not reliant on others' opinions to define their self-worth, and this emotional independence is incredibly attractive. It conveys that you are self-sufficient, that you don't need someone else to complete you, and that you are happy and content in your own company. In relationships, this dynamic is powerful because it sets the stage for mutual respect and admiration. Confidence allows you to be secure in who you are, and in turn, people are more likely to respect, admire, and want to be around you. True confidence is a quiet strength, not the loud, brash kind that seeks attention. It's the type of confidence that stems from an authentic place, one that isn't built on external factors like the approval of others, material success, or superficial traits. It comes from within. Confident individuals know their worth, and they don't feel the need to prove it to anyone. They walk into a room with a sense of ease, and this ease is contagious. People are naturally drawn to calm, collected energy because it provides a sense of stability. The key to confidence is understanding your value without arrogance. Arrogance often stems from insecurity and is used as a shield to protect fragile self-esteem. True confidence, on the other hand, doesn't need to boast or seek external praise. It's quiet, but undeniable. When you exude this kind of quiet confidence, others perceive you as someone who knows their own value, someone who doesn't need to win anyone over. The subtle power of self-assuredness creates a sense of mystery, intrigue, and above all, attraction. Confidence also allows you to be less attached to the outcomes of your interactions. When you are truly confident, you are not overly invested in how people perceive you or in whether they approve of you. This emotional detachment frees you from the anxiety that often accompanies social interactions or romantic pursuits. You no longer find yourself obsessing over whether someone likes you or if they'll text you back. Instead, you focus on the present moment, enjoying the conversation or the experience for what it is, without the pressure of trying to make it something more. This lack of neediness is magnetic, because it signals that you are not emotionally dependent on others for your happiness or self-esteem. You are already whole, and this independence is deeply attractive. Moreover, confidence provides you with the courage to be authentic. When you are confident in who you are, you don't feel the need to hide parts of yourself or put on a facade to impress others. You can be yourself without fear of judgment or rejection. Authenticity is a cornerstone of attraction because people are drawn to those who are genuine, who are comfortable in their own skin, and don't feel the need to pretend to be someone they're not. When you embrace your quirks, flaws, and unique qualities with confidence, you radiate a type of self-love that is incredibly magnetic. People can sense when you are being real, and that honesty fosters a deeper connection. Another way in which confidence is magnetic is through its ability to inspire trust. Confident individuals are often viewed as reliable, stable, and capable. When you carry yourself with confidence, you demonstrate that you can handle challenges, that you can take care of yourself, and that you are someone who can be counted on. In romantic relationships, this sense of reliability is crucial. People are more likely to be drawn to someone who they perceive